Hi, my beautiful brothers and sisters. This is Mary Hernandez with Genesis Kingdom, part one. And today I picked the topic judgment. And I went over a couple of chapters that I did yesterday, but somehow they didn't get posted. So I'm going to read Micah as well. Yesterday was The Vengeance is Mine. And I had told you in prior video that God had spoken to me about Zion. And he showed me the cross, the dove. And I forgot to do about Zion. But I had went over with you guys as far as in Isaiah. I believe it was between 40 and 50, maybe 41. The restoration of our inheritance and our identity to his children. That were stolen, and we're at that moment now that he's working and everything's in process to restore the stolen inheritance to not just to me and his children. So it's to all of us, and I share Bible verses as far as confirming that. So I'm going to start with Micah 1. The word of the Lord that came to Micah of Moshereth during the reigns of Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, the king of Judah. The vision he saw concerning Samaria and Jerusalem. Hear you people, all of you, listen earth, and all who live in it. The sovereign Lord may bear witnesses against you, the Lord from his holy temple. Look, Lord is coming from dwelling place, and he comes with the threads on the highs and of the earth. The mountains met beneath him, and the valleys split apart. Like wax before the fire, like water rushing down from the slope. All this because of Jacob's transgression, because of the sins of the people of Israel. Who is Jacob's? He says, what is Jacob's transgressions? It is not Samaria. It is Judah's. Was it Judah's high place? It is not Jerusalem. Therefore, I will make Samaria the heap of rubble, a place for planting vineyards. I will pour her stones onto the valley and lay bare her foundations. All her idols will be broken to pieces. All her temples' gifts will be burned with fire. I will destroy all her images, since she gathered her gifts from wages and prostitutes. As wages and prostitute they will again be used. But because of this, I will weep and wail. I will go about barefooted and naked. I will howl. It says, I will howl like a jackal and moan like an owl. For Samaria's plague is incurable. It is to spread. It has spread to Judah. It has reached every gate of my people, even Jerusalem itself. Let it not, Gatha, weep not at all, but in Beth Ophrah in the dust. Pass by naked, but in shame you will have left Sapphire. Those who live in Sanuil not come out. Beth Azel is in the morning, but it no longer protects you. Those who live in Morath, rather in pain, waiting for the relief, but because disaster has come from the Lord, but even the gate of Jerusalem. You who live in Lachish, harness fast and horses to the chariot. You that were the sin of the daughter of Zion, began for transgression of Israel, were found in you. Therefore you will give a prating gifts of Moshereth, Gath, into the town of Akasib, will prove deceptive to the king of Israel. I will bring and conquer it against you who live in Marishah. The nobles of Israel will flee in Adullam. Shave your heads in the morning. For the children that are whom you delight, make yourself as bald as a vulture, for they will go from you in exile. Woe to those that plan iniquity, for those who plot evil, for those beds and the mourning. Let they carry it out, because it is their power to do it. And that started off Micah 2. They covet the fields and seize them. The house will take them. They defraud people in their homes. They rob them in their inheritance. Therefore, the Lord says, I am planning a disaster against the people, for which you cannot save yourself. You will no longer walk proudly, and it will be the time of calamity. In the day the people will ridicule you, and they will taunt you in the mournful song. We will utterly ruined. My people possessions is divided up. It takes from me. He assigns our fields to the traitors. Therefore you will have no one in the assembly of the Lord divided in the land by lot. Do not prophesy. Their prophets say, do not prophesy these things. Disgrace will not overtake us. That's what they're saying, because remember I read to you guys in Isaiah how God was upset with them because you weren't preaching the truth. They weren't preaching deliverance. That it was women that hold their birthrights that were stolen. It was never the men. It was the women, the daughters that were chosen vessels, the daughters that were prophets. But it was a stolen inheritance, and I backed it up with the Bible verses. And I'll probably read a couple of them when I do Zion tomorrow. And I showed you guys in the Bible verses how they were saying they were prophets and they were kings and that they were chosen. They made themselves God, and they made a covenant with the harlot. But the only reason why I even got to that opportunity is because they lied on me. They lied on the daughters, so we got dethroned. So they took our birthrights away by lies, and they even used a false prophet, and that's also in the Bible. I mean, a false witness. So with that being said, on this journey back into our promised land that originally belonged to us, the children of the Most High God, our Father Jehovah, and also to you kings, just hang in there. Just know that we're about to see the goodness of our Father, turning things around just in a blink of an eye. The reward is with him, and stay patient, and we will see his goodness. You already seen it in this journey, that we're taking territory as we've been coming into the promised land. So with that being said, is also we're getting our birthrights, states and cities and vineyards that didn't belong to them, that were stolen inheritance. They falsifies information, notes of states and cities and vineyards that belong to his children, and not to the fake Jews that were saying they were. The man just became full of themselves. It was the first fallen Adam. Everybody, the women were worshiping Baal, and they forgot God, but they came so full of themselves that they made themselves God. And that's what God, and I read to you guys in Isaiah, how God was upset because they glorified themselves and made themselves God, made a covenant with Satan and the harlots, and they put him up there. Remember, I told you guys are more royalty. Then you got the fake ones that are faking it up there, and you're worth more than to be selling yourself. And he's saying no more. Stop sinning. Come back to me. I'm going to restore the rights. What is rightfully for you, your children's, and your children's children's. And I will look up some Bible verses that I'll start studying tonight. So Micah 2:7. The descendants of Jacob shall be said, does the Lord become impatient? Does he do such thing? Do not my words do good? The one of the ways that were upright. Because the ones that were prophesying, they were saying they were prophets, they were this, they were saying this is a disgrace. They will not overtake us. Nothing's going to happen to us, because they thought sin is sin. Lies are lies. Robbery is robbery. So there's consequences. I had to be put through the fire for my sins. He didn't spare us because we're his children. You know, if anything, he's going to make an example when he says no sin, no sin. He's saying, come back in a covenant with me with the 10 commandments. And that brings you back into a covenant with Father, while you're sitting there trying to figure out why is it that I don't have my inheritance. At this point, it has nothing to do with the man anymore and what they did. However, it has everything to do with you. And for you kings that were done wrong, just remember that he's restoring everything 100 times full. And it's coming back. Just be patient, continue praying, and don't give up. The minute you start feeling like that, rebuke those thoughts. You know, continue praying and believing that we will see the goodness. You were being lied to, and this is time that you do. And it wasn't preaching deliverance. I went preaching deliverance not only to the children, but also to this world, and keeping them alive, that it's a he that has the birthrights. No, it wasn't. It was never for a man. It was for the women. It was the daughters that had the birthrights. Now lately, my people have rise up like an enemy. You strip off the rich robes and those who pass by without care, like men returning from battle. You drive the women from my people and from their pleasant homes, and you take away the blessings from them. It says for their children forever. This is what happened, and this is the judgment. This is the time that we're in. We're going to start seeing the judgment. We're seeing it as we've been going in here. And he's putting us as we take territory under his authority. It says as long as you follow the 10 commandments, and that's also in the Bible. It says, get up and go away, for it is not your resting place, because you were defiled and ruined beyond the all remedy. If a liar and a deceiver comes and says, I will prophesy you plenty of wine and beer, but just as the prophet for this people, I will surely gather all of you, Jacob, and I will bring together the remnant of Israel, and bring them together like the ships in a pen, and the flock in the pasture, and the place where I will throng with people. The one who breaks open the way and will go up before them, they will break through the gate and out of it. Their king will pass through before them. The Lord is their head. Now Micah 3. Then I said, listen to you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel. Should you not embrace justice? You who hate good but love evil, you who tear the skin of my people and the flesh from their bones, who eat my people's flesh and strip off their skin and break their bones in pieces and chop them up like meat and pan like the flesh for a pot. It says that they will cry out unto the Lord and he will not answer them. But at the time, it says, he will hide his face from them because of the evil that they had done. This is what the Lord says, as for the prophets who led my people astray, that they proclaimed peace, but there was something to eat, but prepare the wage of the war against anyone who refuses to feed them. Therefore, night will come over you without a vision, and darkness without divination. The sun will set before the prophets. The day is to go dark on them. The seers will be shamed, and the diviners disgraced. They will cover their faces because there is no answer from God. But as for me, I am filled with the power of the Spirit of the Lord. But with justice in mind is to declare to Jacob his transgressions and to Israel his sins. Hear this, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, who despise justice and distort all that is right, who built Zion in bloodshed and Jerusalem for wickedness. Her leaders judge for bribe, and her priests teach for a price, and her prophets tell fortunes for money, and yet they look for the Lord for support and say, it is not the Lord among us, no disaster will come upon us. Therefore, because of you, Zion will be plowed like a field, Jerusalem will become a heap of rubble. The temple of the hill will mount and overgrown with thickets. In the last day, the mountains of the Lord temple was established, but as the highest mount, it will be exalted above the hills of the people and the streams of it. Many nations will come and say, come and let us go into the mountains of the Lord. But the temple of Jacob will teach us the way, that we may walk in the path and the law of Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between many people, and he will settle disputes for strong nations far wide. They will beat their swords into a plowshare and their spears with pruning hooks. Nations will take up the sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid, for the Lord Almighty has spoken it. All nations may walk in the name of their gods, and we will walk in the name of our Lord our God forever and ever. In the day, declares the Lord, I will gather the lame, I will assemble the exiles, and I will have brought to grief. I will make the lame of my raiment to those that were driven away with a strong nation. The Lord will rule over them in Mount Zion, and the day is forever and ever. But as for you, watchtowers of flocks, stronghold of daughter of Zion, the former dominion will be restored to you, kinship, for it will come to the daughter of Jerusalem, because it's a woman's kinship, and it's getting restored back to me, and the birthrights to the daughters, because it was daughters that were chosen. It wasn't men. But because of lies, we got dethroned. And yes, I forgive you. My Father forgave me for my sins. And here I am praying because he cares and he loves you and he wants you to come back in a covenant with him. So all of you are going to see the goodness You're going to see the turnaround in the new land of the living restored in the Garden of Eden. The only thing that's fallen is darkness. The hell was made for Satan and the evildoers, witches and warlocks that want nothing for evil to this world. People in high places, people in low places, people from the elite team that were doing evil, and people from the lowly of the low. Just know that hell wasn't made for people. Nobody. And this is like for him to say this is what's going to happen. It says, why do you cry out loud? Have you no king in you? And this is like, God talking to his daughters and myself. He said, have you not king in you? Like, do you not have no king? Has your ruler perished? And the pain seizes that you will be like a woman in labor. Writher in agony, daughter Zion, like a woman in labor. For now you must leave the city, camp, and open field. You will go to Babylon where you have been rescued. And for the Lord has redeemed you out of the hand of your enemies. Yes, he has. For now many nations will gather against you. And you say, let her get defiled. Let her eyes gloat over Zion. But they do not know the thoughts of the Lord. They do not understand his plan. He has gathered them like a sheaf through the threshing floor. Rise and thresh, O daughter Zion, that I will give you the horns of iron. I will give you the hooves of bronze, and you will break to pieces many nations. You will devour their ill-gotten gains, and the Lord, their wealth, to the Lord of all the earth. When they keep talking about God, there is no God in this world besides our Father Jehovah. The kings ended up making themselves God and became full of themselves. Some were worshiping idols, King Nebuchadnezzar. None of that is God. All that is evil. It is Satan. And they were lying so the woman continued being harlots. And you don't step into your birthrights. You don't step into who you are, who our Father destined you to be. So you have been lied to. And that's what he's upset about, because it wasn't preaching deliverance to you daughters. And for you to stay away from sin, the minute you continue sinning, you're going to stay in the covenant with the darkness, because you're still worshiping an idol, a man that he is God, that he is Lord. It is you. It is your birthrights, your children's. Stop letting them rob you and stop sinning and come back in a covenant with our Father. And I have backed it up with Bible verses over Bible verses. And I'm going to continue. And I don't care if it's a little different Bible verse that I'm using. If it's one from chapter 4 and I'm using another one from chapter 1, I will piece it together for you because it is in there. They did a small edit where you see it's kind of like he or she, but it went to the part says I will restore it because it was taken and it was my father that actually betrayed me. And I just read that to you guys on there, and that's how it got dethroned. But that's why it even has a Bible verse that where Father says, your father must have left your father might have left you, your mother might have turned her back on you, but I haven't. He says, I will not. And that's why they know that the hands of God is on me the same way it is on you. And he's using me as a vessel for your purpose, for you. Whether it is a chosen vessel from somebody or not, everybody's special. He loves each and one of you. And all he's asking is come back in a covenant with me and away from the sinful world that keeps you in a pathway to hell. The Proverb 31 woman, that is me. The other daughter, the other harlot, that is the daughter of Babylon, that's a harlot, and that's a pathway to hell. Open your heavenly eyes and come back in a covenant with my Father. They keep you in sin. If you remember also how it talked about that Satan send the harlots to go throw themselves at our husband so they don't come in a covenant with us. But they did. They ended up going in a covenant with them, but everything was written. And the only beauty out of all this, if you know how my Father works, all of it is to preach deliverance to his daughter and bring you back in a covenant with him. How would you have known that there's an enemy? How would people have known there's Satan out there, that there's witches and there's warlocks out there battling for you, battling with our family? They wouldn't be trying so hard. And even some, rather it was jealousy that were letting themselves be used as vessels from Satan. And they're witches because whatever reason it is, they were just as blessed. But jealousy just got a hole in there and it filled it with jealousy. And that's what he wanted because they were doing Satan's work. Satan was pretty much like, I don't have to do nothing. God's own children are sitting there going after each other. He's laughing. He's laughing at them because they're losing out on their blessings. That's what they're doing. because curse him that curses you, bless him that blesses you. When you're highly favored from God, then you know that the hands of God is on you as a chosen vessel. He said, once I have you in the palm of my hands, I will not let you go. You just got to realize who you are, step into your identity, because we've been living so much in the world system, we even forgot. Now it says, Micah 5, I apologize. It says, marshal your troops now, city of troops, for the siege is at late against us. They will strike Israel, the rulers will check for a rod. But you, Bethlehem Ephraim, through you will be a small amount of cleanser of Judah. Out of you will come for me one who will be a ruler over Israel, whose origins are from an old and from the ancient times. I forgot. I'm sorry. I said from the old ancient times, but it says from old and from ancient times. Therefore Israel will be abandoned until the time, and when she who is in labor bears a son, the rest of the brothers will return and join the Israelites. He will stand in the shepherds of his flocks and strengthen the Lord, the majesty of the name, the Lord his God, and they will live securely for them that in his greatness will reach the ends of the earth. And he will be our peace when the Assyrians invade our land and march through our fortress. We will rise against the 7 shepherds and every 8 commanders, who will rule over the land of Isaiah with a sword and the land of Nimrod. It says, and drawn the sword, he will deliver us from the Assyrians, and they will invade our land and march across our borders. The raiment of Jacob will be in the midst of many people, like dew from the Lord, like showers from grass. It says, which do not wait for anyone other than depend on man. The raiment of Jacob will be among the nations. The midst of many people are like the lion among the beasts. The forest is like a young lion among flocks of sheep, which molds the mangles, and it is goes, but no one can rescue. Your hand will be lifted up and triumph over your enemies, and all your fools will be destroyed. And in that day, declares the Lord, I will destroy your horses from among you and demolish your chariots. I will destroy the cities of your land and tear down the strongholds. I will destroy your witchcraft, and you will no longer could cast spells. I will destroy your idols and scarce stones among you, and you will no longer bow down to no work of your hands. I will uproot from among you with Asherah poles when I demolish your cities. I will take vengeance in anger and the wrath of the nations that have not obeyed me. I have enough. Micah 6. Listen to the Lord says, stand up and plead my case. Before the mountains, let the hills hear what you have to say. Hear you mountains. The Lord accusations listens, your everlasting foundations of the earth. For the Lord has a case against his people. He's lodging a charge against Israel. My people, what have I done to you? How have I burdened you? Answer me. I brought you out of Egypt, redeemed you from the land of slavery. I sent Moses to lead you, and Aaron and Miriam. My people, remember Balak the king of Moab plotted, and what Balaam the son of Beor answered. Remember your journey from Shittim to Gilgal, that you may know that he is righteous acts of the Lord. Which shall I come before the Lord, bow down before an exalted God? What shall I come before him and burn offerings with cows of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with 1,000 of rams, 10,000 of rivers of olive oil? Shall I offer my firstborn of my transgressions, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. What does the Lord require you? The act justly is to love mercy and walk humbly with your God. Listen, the Lord is calling the city to fear your name and wisdom. Heed the rod of the one appointed it. I am still and forgot. This is a little gotten treasure. Your wicked house, the short of Ephon, which is a curse. Shall I acquit someone in dishonest scales and the bag of false weight? You rich people are violent. You inhabitants of liars and tongues speak deceitfully. Therefore I begin to destroy you and ruin you because of your sins. You will eat and not be satisfied. Your stomach will be empty and you will not be restored of nothing. It says, but save nothing because of what you have saved. I will give you the sword. You will plant and not harvest. You will press olives and not use the oil. You will crush the grapes, but not to drink the wine. You have observed the statutes of Amari and the practice of Ahab's house. You have followed the traditions. Therefore, I will give you over to the ruin of your people and desertion. I will bear the scorn of the nation. Hallelujah. I'm going to close it up, even though I'm at 25 minutes. They usually give me a 30-minute session. I'm going to close it up here, and then I'll do part 2. I'll post this real quick, and then I'll start on my video part 2. We'll have an amazing Sunday. God bless you. My Father Jehovah loves you. And shalom, shalom.